So why is it all these dark age religions, all their thing they got is trying to deny reality? They wanted to stick their nose in your business. And a big one is the Christian wackos here in America. All they want to do is stick their nose and limit you, control you with myth. It's a myth. Oh, if you don't do this, oh, you're going to, oh, the big suffering, oh. It's all made up. The big one they got is abortion. Oh, can't have abortion. Oh, geez, no. So they stick their nose into your business, into your life, and say, oh, no, you can't because of our little dark age religion. Oh, yeah, we got to, oh, gee, sweet, oh, boy. And the saying keeps going. It's those Christian lunatics that made we have plenty of examples. But here's another one. It was you can look it up, the Women's Christian Temperance Union, WCTU, who generated the policy of prohibition. And in particular, the prohibition on alcohol. And look what their prohibition did. Their religion, their morality created Al Capone. And massive $1 million enterprise for the American mafia. And it was the Christian wackos who said, oh, no gambling, oh, no gambling. And all their morality did was create massive millions and millions of dollar profits for the American mafia and criminal enterprise. Their morality is criminality. And it's Christian wackos who trying to say, oh, no sex. Oh, geez, no sex without marriage. I mean, that's so dark age stupid that all of the people that are married know better, right? There is no sex in marriage. You get maybe a year or two, a few years maybe. And then you live together. The thrill is gone. It gets kind of worn out. You try all the games. You try all the positions. You're done, Repetition just kind of makes it. And let's just order a pizza. What do you say? And just look at internet porn instead, where there is excitement, where there is what you remember of sex. Something new. Stimulating. But Christians have been saying, oh, no sex without marriage. That's so dark age. It shows you how stupid they are. Still trying to force their little dark age religion onto all of you. And in there with sex is also the whole issue of prostitution. Prostitution should be legal. And then you would pull the rug out from all this sex trafficking and sex violence that has been going on and on and on and on way too long. And at the same time, the denial of prostitution has made, once again, millions and millions and millions in profits for criminal enterprise. Violence is part of the control of prostitution because it's illegal. And who made it illegal? Who forced their morality into legislation? These Christian lunatics. They don't want to face reality, human reality. Reality is far more profound and better for you than is myth. Because myth is myth. Myth is a bunch of lies. Myth is just a fantasy stories. Reality is guaranteed. 21st century religion has to be based on reality, not myth. The Society of Sacred Flowers is that 21st century religion. Sacred Flowers doesn't have a creation myth. Because that's what it is, a creation myth, a myth. Ignorant people making up a story to explain something they didn't know anything about. Made it all fantastic. Oh boy, you should have seen this play. It was so, back then, oh God. Made up all, every culture had them. A creation myth. It was just explaining, trying to make up a story about what they didn't know. And all that's over with. Equal rights is the basis of a 21st century religion. Women equal as men. Flat out. Homosexuality and heterosexuality, so what? Fine. No problem. Enjoy yourself. Life is short. The only caveat of anything, it doesn't even have to be religious, is the issue that you don't cause injury. You don't go into intentionally try and hurt others. That's pretty straightforward, pretty basic. It'll go a long way because it's based on reality. Reality, not myth. That whole ridiculous policy of prohibition, we're still trying to get rid of the prohibition against cannabis, marijuana. Why was it ever done? Well, Christian wackos put their nose in your business and then they forced it into legislation just like the rest of the stuff, gambling, alcohol, and said, oh, no, and made it into legislation. So now you just think of it as the failure of a legislation when you got to look also at why was it even developed? Who was so stupid as to say we're going to just put this prohibition idea in place and take away our oversight and control and responsibility and just throw it away? And guess what? Who took it over? Every time. Street gangs, the mafia, organized crime, international crime cartels, all of which rake in billions and billions and billions of dollars by providing their morality, by providing the issues of their morality. Folks, look at it. You all know this. People, 21st century people know this. Look at the internet. Internet porn. It's huge. I think still it's the only thing that is consistently throughout the whole internet experience so far, which is still pretty young. Internet porn is the only one that's consistently made money. Humans have a big interest. I'm afraid to tell, I'm shocking anyone here. Humans have a huge interest in sex. Oh yeah. Yes, they do. I know it might be shocking. Somehow, how did they get there? But yes, it's true. And so what? It comes with the territory of being human. And it's up to you as well. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? It's justifiably to say, now wait a minute, the only caveat here is you don't rape. You don't cause injury. You don't have sex with kids, little children. That's insane. And by the way, that's a bunch of Republicans who do. Just another couple of Republicans got busted for sex porn and sex trafficking about kids. And, they were in with the Trump campaign again. So once again, that whole thing of the QAnon blood drinkers saying, it's all pedophiles. Well, yeah, they're all in the Republican Party. George Nader. Look it up yourself. Sex is a reality. Some amount of intoxication, a reality. Some amount of gambling, that's a reality. It's up to you and your responsibility. See, that's the best thing. That's the intelligent thing, is you run the business, not criminal enterprise. You run the business. Oversight, age access controls, audits, contracts, and you pull the rug out from massive crime, violence, and criminal profit. And it's a business. And it's reality. And then it's like any other thing, buying a pair of socks. It's a reality, not a myth, not a fear, not a religious delusion of needing to be repressed and denied, and all the suffering that'll come. Lunatic stuff of those Dark Age religions. In particular, talking about Christianity here, these lunatics on the right wing Christians that are all in the Republican Party, as you've heard, because they won't face reality. They can't face reality. They live in a whole world of the myth of that little book that was written by Dark Age people from 2,000 years ago who didn't know much about anything. They didn't know what a flood was. They didn't know what a volcano was. They didn't know what a black plague was. They just made up stories. They just made up that some big thing. It's really, I don't know what it is. It's just like so obvious for 21st century people that, you just can't, you don't know how can you respond. It's so obviously that clinging to those myths, clinging to those justifications for repressing women's rights, repressing the rights of gays, sustaining racism based on these myths, folks, that you can't go there. You just see it as so stupid, such ignorance. And it causes so much needless suffering. Way too much suffering. It doesn't need to happen when you face reality. Reality is far more profound than myth, because reality is guaranteed. Just look at those QAnon blood-drinking idiots. They sit around making up these fantastic stories made up by an anonymous source. Anonymous. Don't anybody just think, no, wait a minute, that's all made up stuff. There isn't any Q. That is just made up. And the agenda, you got to look at what is the agenda of that, those myths. And you see, hey, it just supports right-wing Christian fascism. It just supports racism and white supremacy bullshit. It just supports Republican dictatorship, destruction of your rights. Look at the agenda. And of course, they want to use extreme things. So they make up incredible myths. So all these people in the blood-drinking idiots, they just are rolling around in mythology. An internet-generated mythology. And so they live in lies. And they justify repression and suffering. And then what comes along with it is massive profits to criminal enterprise that cause more suffering and cause more violence. You got 21st century people are all past that. We've thrown all that crap away. 21st century people know there never was God. And that's just another myth made up. 21st century people get it. That there never was this creation myth thing. Whatever it was, what is well, there was this big snake coiled in the sky. He was sleeping on the snake sea, and his wife came up and tickled his foot, and then he dreamed all of us. I mean, that's just as much a fantasy as saying, oh, there is this, what is that one? The one they use? The Garden of Eden. And they go, oh boy, there was this great place, man. It was just like, oh geez, and geez, it was. No, there wasn't. It's made up. Fantasy. Fantasy. And all that is then becomes used to justify repression. That's the issue. Justify violence and repression. Cause all sorts of suffering. And when you face reality, when you live in reality, 21st century reality, you throw all that Dark Age crap out. And you legalize prostitution. You legalize drugs. You legalize, like you have, alcohol, gambling. You run the business. Clear oversight. Age access controls. Audits. Contracts. The whole thing. Sanitation concerns, the whole thing. And then it's just a business. And then it's clear, and then it's open, and then it's real. Because it is real. And everybody's so much happier. Because you live in reality. And everything about the society is then reality, not myth. And the big, basis of that reality is equal rights. You're first. The economics is you first. It's your air and water first. Any business that's poisoning your air, water, dumping plastics in the ocean, any business that's leaving toxic residues on your food, and you're supposed to clean up their mess? That's insane. You close them down. They're out of business. And right now you can do that because you have the research and development, you have the technology, you have the science, the medical research that you need to leave all that toxicity behind and fully embrace you. The reality of life. The reality of life. Now that's pretty profound, folks. The reality of life. Not myth. The reality. That's when you'll have a society, a nation, a world that is functioning correctly, that is beneficial to you, because it's dealing with reality.